This is the power outage portion of the video, so this is early this morning. Well, happy Vlogmas Day 4. My name is Karina. We are currently experiencing a power outage, but I just replaced the frozen hummingbird feeder with a fresh one, and the female came up to visit, but kind of ran off. So anyway, I'm on my way to feed the horses. It's quite cold this morning, and I hope the power comes back on soon. Finally getting around to making the turkey stock out of the turkey frame from Thanksgiving. The frame has been languishing in the freezer, so I cut up some vegetables and added carrot tops to give the broth an earthy flavor, and this will turn into soup. Hi everyone, this is going to be the final segment for today, December 4th, day 4 of Vlogmas. I see my hair is kind of sticking out, sorry about that. We had a little bit of a rough start this morning, so we got up pretty early and the power immediately went out. Well, it was still dark out because the sun doesn't come up until about, I don't know, nearly 8 a.m. now. So we had a while of sitting in the dark, but thankfully the power did come back on. I think after a couple hours. Randy had cooked breakfast. We have propane appliances, well, range, and so he was able to cook breakfast, and we have a wood stove, so we were able to keep warm. It was just dark in the house. So I showed a little bit of that at the beginning of the of this episode, so I hope you enjoy that. So what I want to show you today is a book that came in the mail for me yesterday. So I don't know if any of you have knitting related injuries, but I bought this book. I think I saw the author of this book, Carson Demers, on a Fruity Knitting episode quite a while ago, and kept it in mind. I wasn't having any issues then, but my left thumb started hurting, and there's a couple things that I have noticed. One is that with my horses, I used to pick manure with a pitchfork twice a day, and I kind of noticed it starting then. I also computer mouse with my left hand. I'm right-handed typically, but I mouse with my left hand. And I started knitting left-handed earlier this year. And I think what has really done it for me is the sock knitting. Hopefully my phone, which I'm recording on, doesn't go flying off here, because Harley is trying to play behind the curtain. So Harley, one of our darling kitties, he may also make an appearance if he sticks his face in front of the camera. So anyway. So I bought this book, and I opened it this morning, before the power went out, and read a little bit about it. And you know, some of the key things are taking breaks, of course. Who wants to do that when you're knitting? Because that's what we do for breaks, is we knit. And then hopefully I'll just learn a little bit more about technique. The other thing that I read in here was, maybe not knitting such, using bigger needles. So one project I'm working on right now is the Love Note sweater by Tin Can Knits. Oh, you can probably see Herbert's ear. Oh, there's his nose. Isn't that cute? Hi, buddy. Yeah, hi. So the Love Note sweater is a pattern that uses fingering weight held with mohair on rather large needles. So I am going to be working on that, maybe focusing less on socks. Maybe think about, what am I going to do with all that sock yarn that I have? Well, maybe just knit fewer socks in a row, maybe knit more stripy socks rather than patterned socks, and maybe use some of the sock yarn that I bought for more Love Note sweaters if I end up liking this one. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about. Anyway, Knitting Comfortably, The Ergonomics of Hand Knitting by Carson Demers. So you can see it. I bought it directly from his website. I want to say with shipping and tax, it was kind of pricey. It cost me about $60, but I think it's going to be well worth it, especially if I don't have to change too much about my knitting. The other thing that I wanted to show you before I rip it out is ghost horses. So this is the finished sweater. It's still too small. I could block the bejeebers out of it maybe before I rip it out. I don't know. It was just, I don't know. Maybe I'll try that. Maybe I won't rip it out. Maybe I'll block the bejeebers out of it. It was just so snug, especially in the shoulders. So that's the part that bugs me the most. This is a pattern. So you can see the horse pattern. I love this pattern. I did not enjoy the, oops, that keeps folding up, knitting the body so much, all that color work in the body. I was kind of thinking of maybe just repeating this pattern the largest size possible with just knitting the yoke and then doing the body and just kind of standard stockinette stitch, just like a typical yoked sweater. So I don't know. I'll have to think about that, what I'm really going to do. I think I've said in numerous times that I have knitted this sweater probably 3 or 4 times. So this might have been this was probably the 4th time, if I'm quite honest. I had trouble with, this was my first real color work project. So, and I had trouble with the pattern. I didn't choose yarns that had enough contrast between each other, so it was hard to read my knitting. So I have learned a lot from this. As someone has famous probably said, education is expensive, and that is exactly right. So, yeah, I have plenty of other projects. I have another colorwork sweater in my queue, so to speak. It's a Barocco pattern that I'm using some chunky yarn. Or it might be Aran weight. So, but anyway, it's much thicker than this yarn. I think this is fingering weight. And I actually, going back over the pattern, I think that I used the wrong, this is probably supposed to be a DK pattern and not a fingering pattern. So that could have been part of my problem as well. Also, the other thing is I didn't knit a gauge swatch because I wasn't sure how to knit a gauge swatch for color work, but Seedling Stitch podcast described how to do that in one of her recent episodes. So, and it involves steeking, which I haven't done either, but she also found a steeking method using crochet to capture the ends rather than a sewing machine, because I don't have a sewing machine. I don't know how to sew. Maybe it's something I will do eventually, but and she found the tutorial the tutorial on the Knitting Man podcast. So highly recommend that. So today's kind of a little bit of a weird day. I'm going to post this and some of the other snippets about the day, and then go fiddle around with the horses. So that's what I'm going to be up to. All right, have a great day, and hopefully I'll get to see you tomorrow too.